Okay, so I have a very serious topic to talk about, which is the covenant. Now, done, I did do a lot of research about this covenant in the first 3 years of me believing what I believe. Obviously, because I thought it was about me and I wanted to know as much about the covenant as possible because I thought it related to me and I wanted to know when it would end. And, there was lots of talk about a 3 year, 3.5 year covenant. And I thought it was in regards to people ignoring me and me going through a horrible tribulation. But it wasn't 3.5 years. It's been 9.5 years, and it's still going on. So, and the more I read, I stopped reading the Bible, trying to blank out my mind, and I'm trying to forget about it, but it's not going away. It won't go away because there's a huge number of people that follow and believe it and love it. And if you listen to some pastors, the Bible is the everything. If it's not in the Bible, then you can't trust it. And there's always big preaching ceremonies where they just give so much power and glory to the God of the Bible, and it's just like this is like ridiculous, yes, but at the same time there's a reason for it. And the covenant is about God's war. And God's war is coming. At least it's coming if whatever's happening to me, if people are really listening to me and following me, which I'm seeing evidence of it every single day, it is coming. And I don't really want to be part of it, hence why I would rather it, my hair looks a mess, why I'd rather it like be part, like the war of this false god that everyone's worshipping, everyone's giving praise to God the Father, and it's to reduce the population. But the this war needs to come, and it's going to be really bad because I hate suffering. I don't want people to suffer, and the Bible is about getting people to seek Jesus, not earthly things, not things of this world, but rather to prepare themselves for this heavenly body. The Lion of Judah, this channel's videos are have reminded me of what people are believing in. Okay, a lot of them don't believe in this, and I'm pretty sure 10 years ago there would have there were still videos like this, but they might have not been as well produced because they were more believed by idiots and stuff. But there's a lot of these idiots, even at like the prince's wedding, they had these preachers that are just crazy, but no one could see them as being crazy, and it's bizarre how that is. But yeah, I think something is crazy is going to happen, and I think something needs to happen. And I think for 3.5 years, um, God really, really wants assisted suicide to be legalized. And if I was to go to heaven, and if I truly believed that if I died, I would get a heavenly body and live in paradise and have everything given to me, it sounds amazing. Um, if that's what I believed would happen, I would want to die. And yeah, I've been suicidal all my life, so I guess I do think that is possible. I don't think it's going to happen now. I think it's going to happen after my fourth life. I need to live a life as Lily because the timeline has been made, and Chinese people exist. That race exists, and I think that race exists because of Lily. So therefore, the timeline has already been made, and Lily is somewhere on that timeline. And I don't think souls can leave this timeline until the timeline has played out. It's like watching a video. Um, you can press play on the video, but imagine there's no stop button, and imagine you have to watch that video. Even though you don't know what the ending is, the ending has been written. And I don't know if Lily is actually going to be the end, or if she's just going to be the end to another race. Maybe there's going to be a fifth me afterwards, who's like a mixture of all four of the races. Got a Chinese grandparent, a white parent, a black parent, and all grandparents. I mean, four grandparents. You have two parents and four grandparents, and maybe they're each four of a different race, and maybe there is going to be another one after Lily. I know I will be the last, but is Lily going to be the last? I don't know. But yeah, I can't say anything about the future, but I feel like all four races exist because the timeline has been set, and that is what is going to happen, and therefore no one can leave this sort of realm of existence, until Lily's come and gone and opened up. Maybe there's a portal after that. I just don't know. I don't know. I feel like anything that could be believed about that is completely shut off, because right now people are shut off to God and they're worshipping some sort of monster, and they can't even see that they're worshipping a monster. They're just so desperate for just getting out of this place that they can't see the truth about the God that they're worshipping. And I wouldn't want to take rapists and murderers and stuff off to a place of paradise, because the whole reason why paradise is because the people in there are amazing and nice and stuff. And if you're worshipping the God of Isaac, Abraham, and all that crap. Abraham was a rapist. Moses killed all his people and started a war and went off to keep them in starvation, and was happy to kill his brother. Oh, take your brother up to the top of the mountain, and I'll kill, and I'll, there he'll die. And it's like, okay, if you have a real reason for not liking your brother, I can understand that. Like, I would not kill my sister ever, but she hasn't helped me in any sort of way, and I do believe in equality, and I want to treat her the same as I treat everyone else. So that's just how it is. But at the same time, yeah, if some God told me that if I took my sister up to the top of a mountain, she will die, I would make sure that my sister does not go up to the top of that mountain. But yeah, if you can't see stories like that and see the truth behind them, or would worship the God of Moses or whatever. I know you don't say the God of Moses, it's Isaac, but Isaac they were all bad. They were all bad for different reasons, and I've forgotten the stories. But yeah, if you can't see that, then you're just not ready for paradise, 100%. But yeah, yeah, there needs to be a covenant, and I think it's the covenant is for 3.5 years. You have to legalize assisted suicide. Aaliyah was 21. It's horrible to see 21-year-olds die, but there's the Malibu song by Miley Cyrus, and then the 1729. I was trying to analyze it, and okay, there's lots of ways to analyze it. I mean, technically, okay, it sounds like she had a relationship at 17 with a 29-year-old. That's what it sounds like, which probably is the more realistic truth about what it means in her view. But yeah, in my view, it pointed to 1729, which is when a 7-day war happened, and also, what's the difference? Why is it good to be 29 and not 17? And well, it could be like, oh well, at 17 you're not allowed to legally consent to taking, to going into heaven. I think that would be fair. Aaliyah was 21, and okay, she was really too young, not young, but at the same time, it's unfair, and it happened. It's unfair, and it happened. So if it happened to others, well, you have to follow in the way of Christ. That's what Jesus is about. You have to follow and copy after him. And well, if you knew the real Jesus was actually Aaliyah, who died at 21, and that kind of indicates that maybe if you really want to die at 21, you should be allowed to. Like, it's awful, but it's how it is. And when it comes to children, one of my favorite films is Patriot, and I really love that film. Okay, it's got Keith, Kev, I can't even remember his name. I just want to call him Amy, because if I had him as a child and if he was a girl, I would call him Amy. But yeah, Heath. I can't even say his name. What is it? Can I just call him Amy? Keith Ledger. Keith Ledger. That's it. Or is it Heath Ledger? I don't know. I'm so bad at names. Amy. Anyway, he's in that Patriot film, and I really like the Patriot film. But the horriblest thing about the Patriot film is when the Christian guy who's done quite a few films, he the father of Heath Ledger, one of the two. Heath Ledger, I think it is. Is it? But yeah, he basically was talking about how he regrets something. He killed women and children, and it's a horrible scene and stuff. But at the same time, how horrible is it to grow up without parents? It's awful. I would not. I don't like my mom at all, but I have a lot of respect for Madonna, because she didn't have or lost her mum at the age of 6, and it's awful. It's not good to grow up. She had one parent, which is good. But yeah, if some rapture is coming and it's telling people to go to paradise, if the kids can stay behind with grandparents, then great. if that's their choice. But if they want to go and stay with their parents, and if they want to walk into heaven together, and if their parents want them to go to heaven, because a lot of them probably wouldn't go without the children. And I hate Christians so much so that, you know, it's terrible. But I don't. It's terrible also to live a life without a parent. And if dying just means coming back and getting new parents, parents that are alive, parents that are going to teach you the right things, you know, war is always terrible. And what happened to the Native Americans was also terrible. You know, the British went over there and just basically killed everyone, women, children, whatever. And it's sad. And you'd see the children, you think, oh, why couldn't they just adopt them? But it's not the same. You know, adopting is good, and if you can adopt, great. But a lot of people wouldn't look at adopted child as being the same as them. They wouldn't treat them the same as them. And a lot of adopted children that, you know, especially in impoverished countries, you know, a lot of you hear stories of this where people adopt uh, children for parents who have died of because they couldn't afford health care and stuff, and so they've died of cancer or a long list of other things, sometimes just basic diseases, really small things that can easily be cured. And then they just turn the children into slaves and then just work them to death. And that's not right. You know, it's much better to be in this world and have parents that, you know, that are treating you right. And I can't control how people treat their children. And, you know, if there is going to be this big war coming, and you know, a lot of people are going to take the option to go to heaven. Um, uh, you know, there's going to be a lot of orphans, and that's just not right, and they're going to be at risk of all sorts. Well, I don't know what's going to happen on Earth. There might be some people that just reject the whole thing and just want to use the fact that God is not that monster as a way of doing more crimes and stuff, and then it could cause more suffering. And I don't want suffering, and it is suffering to live a whole life without your parents. And you'd probably hate whatever's happened and whoever's you know, if your parents are dead because a bunch of people convinced them to take their life, you know, there's going to be a lot of people that are angry over the people that convinced them to take their life. And you know, if you're one of these children, then and if you so it's just really really complicated, and it's a really really serious subject. But yeah, I'm basically for children going with their parents. You know, when England went over to America, South America, you know, they could have just adopted these kids, but they probably wouldn't have done, and the kids probably would have grown up feeling hatred towards the people who killed and murdered their family. And it's not good to grow up with hatred. It's not good to grow up like that. And so a lot of people die, women, children, and that's just how it is. I do believe that souls of children are given to parents who are very similar to them. I hate Christians, and it's very highly likely that the children that are born to these, you know, these people that I don't like, were probably Christian in their past life and probably had plenty of opportunities to not be Christian. You know, I think if you're born into an atheist family, it might have been because you were partly atheist in your past life. You know, the matrix has joined your spirits together and put your spirit inside a pregnant woman of someone who's quite similar to you. And maybe your belief and your religion and the things you believe in and your mental ability to understand things has got to the similar point of your parents. So you should never say that, because technically me and my mum are very, very different. But then again, I feel like the Matrix has kind of judged me based on my, you know, my past life as Dala. And, you know, as Dala, I would have really been really keen to have, for example, I would have been really, really keen for my kid to have lots of grandchildren. And even at the age of 12, you know, no parent should be happy that their child has got pregnant at 12. But at the same time, I would have been really happy if my, you know, if my son would have got pregnant at 12. Why? Because it takes less responsibility off me to have a kid. It's a lot harder to have a kid if you're a female. It's easier to have a kid if you're a male. And likewise, my mum is desperate and has been desperate to have grandkids ever since we were about 6 or 7. So I feel like, you know, it's annoying because she would never let me throw anything away. Like even when I was 6, and my sister was 4, you know, oh, these are all baby stuff. I want to throw it away. oh no, you can't because your children might want it. Oh, my children don't want it, I'm 6 years old. She's been literally saying that since I was 6 years old, and I feel like her doing this is kind of karma, because I probably did the same thing to my kid back the 20,000 years ago, or whenever the age was. I don't know when the age was, the year was, but a long time ago I probably would have encouraged my kids to have kids. And likewise, my mom has encouraged me to have kids. So I've been put into, given a mad person, this mad mother who was similar to me in my past life. But then I was in a cave situation, so it would have been very, very different. But yeah, that's just how it works. And you know, and my sister if she had a child, she wanted to call her child Lois, which sounds like Lois. And if you knew all the connections that I've been making with my name, and reading signs, reading things in names, for her to call it something that sounds similar to Lois, I just, it's an insult to me. But at the same time, I see my sister as being someone who's not particularly bright, because I feel like I've been deliberately paired up with her, because my higher self doesn't want people to help me, doesn't want me to have, whatever this war is going to be, it's going to anger a lot of people who don't go. And if the kids, if the parents go and the kids don't go. I watched this film. What's it? That the one where this woman was in, where the, I don't know. There's this film that's, I walked out halfway through because it was awful. There's a Wild Marsh Girl. The Marsh Girl. There's a film on at the cinema right now. I can't remember what the name is. The Marsh Girl one, and I just didn't like it, because her mum walked out when she was 6, because of her dad was beating all the kids up, and then eventually one by one the kids went and they never came back, and then the father left, and this 6-year-old was just left to grow up by herself. And it's awful. I didn't like watching the film, because she seemed like such a nice person throughout the film, and then she was on trial for murder, so you kind of like, well, there's obviously something not right. But it didn't make any sense, because if someone's lost both their parents at the age of like 6 or 7, or maybe 8, I don't know how old she was, but if you lost your parents and are forced to live by yourself and have to do everything by yourself from that age, you're going to grow up with hatred inside of you. You're going to grow up to be not a very nice person, because of maybe resilience to, oh, I could have had a better life if my parents are still here, and who should I blame for that? And it's sad when children die, but at the same time, you shouldn't, to grow up without parents is going to make you feel angry over what's happened. And you're not going to blame your parents for worshipping the nonsense that they're worshipping. You're going to blame the person. You're either going to blame God for forming the religion, the nonsense religion that they got, or you're going to blame the people, the state who allowed them to commit suicide. And it's yeah, seeing kids go is awful, but at the same time, it's better for them to go, and then for them to just be reincarnated. I do think that any child under the age of 15 isn't going to be judged at all. They're just going to go straight back to the next kids, the next set of kids that are born, and they're going to have similar parents. Of course, Christianity is going to be gone, but yeah, they will be born into similar parents, and they will come back, and everything will be fine. And it's like Steven Hawkins. He was one of the people that I really never wanted to meet, because he's got this body that's all paralyzed and just doesn't do anything. And I kind of just want to tell him, I wanted to tell him when he was still alive, when I knew I was God, I wanted to tell him that I'm God, and I'm sorry that you've got this body, but it's not my fault. If you want to get out of this body, just kill yourself and I'll bring you back. And he's a smart, intelligent guy. Of course I'm going to bring him back. I'm not going to bring him back as an animal. He's definitely he's not like an animal. He's smarter than that. I don't think he's as smart as some people give credit for. I think sometimes people see a disability and think, oh my God, he must be superhuman. And I don't know. I'm sure wherever he is now, he's alive still, and he's got a new body, and he's not suffering any longer. And yeah, it's horrible seeing people in paralyzed bodies, and I know that I can save them just by saying, you're not going to die if you die. Your body will die, but you'll get a new one. And it's the same thing can be said with children. If they're suffering because their parents or their family are all dead and they've got no one looking after them, and if they find a nice adopted family, and that's great, and I'm very happy for them. But yeah, the alternative is not as bad as you think, because they will get another life, and they will be happier because they'll know that their parents actually birthed them, and they'd feel not like an outcast. It's not good to feel like an outcast. And so yeah, it's a very serious topic, but I needed to say.